AUPP President Dr. Malcolm Fiver, Dr. Jenny McRae, Fort Hays State University, members of the APP Board of Trustees, especially Madame the Founder, honorable guests, graduates of class 2025, and the beloved parents and loved ones behind you. Today, you graduate from the American University of Phnom Penh, which is a part of a growing tradition of academic seriousness and international cooperation in Cambodia. I would like to thank the leadership, faculty, and staff of AUPP for their work in preparing students to think carefully and responsibly and meet the challenges of the world beyond the campus. ខ្ញុំក៏ចង់សូមយកឱកាសនេះដើម្បីស្វាគមន៍និងគោរពដល់ឪពុកម្ដាយបងប្អូនរបស់និស្សិតដែលទទួលសញ្ញាបត្រនៅពេលព្រឹកនេះតែការគ្រប់គ្រងជាច្រើនឆ្នាំរបស់ក្រុមគ្រួសារបាននាំឲ្យបងប្អូននិស្សិតមានថ្ងៃនេះ They are your parents, your loved ones. Essentially, they are the wind beneath your wing. So join me in giving them a round of applause for their support to you. ក្នុងនាមជាឪពុកម្នាក់ដែរខ្ញុំក៏អាចយល់នៅអារម្មណ៍របស់ឪពុកម្ដាយហើយជាពិសេសនៅពេលដែលឃើញជោគជ័យរបស់កូនបានចប់4ឆ្នាំនៃការប្រឹងប្រែងរៀនសូត្រដ៏លំបាកជាការតស៊ូមួយក្នុងជីវិតរបស់ពួកគាត់ហើយក៏យល់ពីអារម្មណ៍នៃការបារម្ភពីព្រោះទីទៀតបងប្អូននិស្សិតនឹងឈានទៅរកការសិក្សាបន្តឬមួយក៏ឈានទៅពិភពការងារហើយពុកម្ដាយបារម្ភថាកាន់តែឃ្លាតឆ្ងាយពីខ្លួនអារម្មណ៍នេះខ្ញុំក៏ធ្លាប់ឆ្លងកាត់ក្នុងជាឪពុកដែលកូនបានសុំទៅរៀននៅក្រៅប្រទេសហើយថ្ងៃនេះមានអាដាមឆៃរិទ្ធសែនដែលជារដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្រសួងអភិវឌ្ឍជនបទនៅក្នុងរដ្ឋាភិបាលអាណត្តិនេះជាមួយគ្នាដែលមកអង្គុយក្រោយជូនកូនមកទទួលសញ្ញាបត្រអារម្មណ៍នេះក៏ប្រហែលជាគាត់ក៏មានដែរប៉ុន្តែចំពោះឪពុកម្ដាយនិងអ្នកជាទីស្រឡាញ់របស់និស្សិតទាំងអស់ក៏ជាថ្ងៃដែលជាការអបអរសាទរថាការគ្រប់គ្រងរបស់អ្នកមានគុណទាំងអស់ការគ្រប់គ្រងរបស់អ្នកជាទីស្រឡាញ់របស់បងប្អូននិស្សិតនេះហើយដែលធ្វើឲ្យបងប្អូននិស្សិតយើងបានមានថ្ងៃនេះទាំងអស់គ្នា So celebrate your support together with me. The moment takes me back. This moment takes me back to my own graduation. I felt very anxious leaving IUPP, the Royal University of Phnom Penh, in the early 1990s. That time in Cambodia, history was volatile and very challenging for the country. I believed strongly in what Cambodia had to offer and what it was capable of. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to pursue master degrees overseas. And this gave me a wider view of the world and a deeper appreciation of what Cambodia could become. And that was highlighted in the speech by the president this morning. It's about becoming. And while I was studying at Columbia University in New York as a Fulbright scholar, as soon as my courses were complete, I boarded a plane. My diploma could follow by post. My heart was already home. I had so much optimism for Cambodia then. It was moving forward, and it was moving towards peace and stability against all the noise outside. It was clear to me then that I wanted to be part of the rebuilding effort here back at home, but I didn't yet have a clear path. So I took what opportunity came my way in work, in daily life, and in unexpected places, and tried to learn from each of them. The lesson I gained from those life experiences are the ones I want to share with you today. And these are real life stories. It's not from books, not from theories. First, character will matter as much as your credentials. First, across the world today, economic uncertainty, political division, and questions of truth define much of public life. What will hold steady is not the world around you, but the values you stand for, and it is your character that will matter as much as your credentials. I gained many of my values from my family life. My grandmother lost both her only 2 sons to the Khmer Rouge. She helped raise the whole family. She was very much an uneducated person. She couldn't read, she couldn't write. But she was determined that we would have a better life. She was the one who taught me that dignity does not depend on education or status. It comes from how you carry yourself, how you show up for others. And Dr. Jenny spoke a lot about that this morning. And I never forgot those early moments in my childhood, reading by kerosene light, hiding under the house when artillery came too close at night. It was a very hard time. But one of the things it taught me was to look after each other. That sense of duty to family, to others, has stayed with me ever since. Both the Stoics and Buddhism teach that in a world beyond your control, your only true possession is your moral self. How you act, how you respond, and how you treat others. Treat everyone with respect. From the boardroom to the person sweeping the floor, status should never determine dignity. So be interested in other people. Treat them well. Because the way you treat others, when it costs you nothing, says everything about who you really are. Your talent might open doors, but your character is what decides whether you are welcome inside. And in the end, to paraphrase Maya Angelou, people will remember not what you achieved, but how you made them feel. Part of treating people with respect is paying attention. Sometimes, just looking up from your phone at a cafe, or when you are in the village with your family, and starting a conversation that can lead to something completely unexpected. You never know what you might learn. Let me give you one example. This is one of the many examples in my life in public service. When I was managing EDC, we launched a crackdown on the illegal reselling of electricity. We uncovered cases where companies, individuals were tapping into the wires and selling electricity 2,000 real to 3,000 reals when the actual cost per kilowatt hour, when the actual cost was something less than 1,000, much less than 1,000 reals per kilowatt hour. Far above the regulated few hundred reals, as I said. And the first time I heard about this wasn't in a meeting room. It came from a conversation, from my conversation with a masseuse. I asked her how much she paid for electricity. She told me about that, about the illegal reselling of electricity in Phnom Penh. I was quite shocked. That single exchange set in motion a national campaign to stop illegal reselling that was exploiting families, students, migrant workers, and it became a major policy intervention across the country. Experiences like that reminded me that leadership begins with listening. If you are truly paying attention to what people say, to what they live, you will often see what formal reports miss. And if you choose to act on those insights, that is where trust begins. Because leadership is not about having all the answers. It is about noticing what others overlook and responding with integrity. Whenever I step into a position of responsibility, my first priority was always to listen, to understand, to earn the trust and support of the entire institution. When I took up my ministerial role a year ago, more than a year ago, we began by developing a clear vision. And then I asked everyone at the Ministry of Mines and Energy to vote on it. Together, we decided on the principle that would guide us. I keep staff informed, and discussions are made with clarity and fairness. Sometimes you have to make difficult decisions, but I always follow through based on the vision and the principle we agreed on upfront. Because in the end, both leadership and character come down to consistency. And when you delegate, and you must delegate in the line of work, you cannot leave your people on their own. Delegation must come with strategic support. If you give someone responsibility and do not back them up, you are not empowering them. You are setting them up to fail. You have to stand with them through thick and thin. That's how I learned it. And to me, that is leadership. You are a shepherd, responsible not only for the direction of the journey, but for the strength of the flock. You do not walk ahead and shout orders. You stay close, you pay attention, and you carry the weight when needed. And if you are truly paying attention, you act on what you see, even when others overlook it. That is why we have worked to build reforms that benefit everyone, institutionally and individually. We have increased salaries for young contractual staff at the ministry. We introduced $1,000 maternity benefit for women for the first time in the ministry, for example. We are organizing childcare centers for our staff. We have established those centers at the ministry and en route to establishing some more at EDC and the Electricity Authority of Cambodia, known as the EAC, so that they will follow. You see, high morale does not appear on its own. It is built on fairness, clarity, and shared purpose. So that is advice number one. Your character will matter as much as your credentials. It is not only what you know, but how you lead. Not just what you achieve, but how you treat others along the way. When you leave the gates of AUPP today, it will be easy to focus only on what you can earn, what you can own, and what you can achieve. And yes, these things matter. But they are not the whole story. A strong society, as Dr. Jenny just mentioned in his speech plentifully, a strong society is not built by ambition alone. It is built by what each of us gives back to our families, to our communities, to the people we never meet. Education is a privilege, especially higher education is a privilege. And it becomes, and it comes, and it should come with some responsibility. It gives you the ability to think beyond yourself. It gives you the power to make choices that strengthen the world you live in. And with that comes a duty to protect those who has less and to extend the ladder to those still climbing. And I say that from experience. Again, when I was a child, I had never seen a motorbike up close. And you know, I had my childhood in the Khmer Rouge time and lived through the whole turbulent period post the Khmer Rouge era. During the Khmer Rouge period, there were no cars on the road. When a motorbike did appear, usually ridden by a local Khmer Rouge official, we would run after it. We mean all the kids, the children, not to ask for anything, just to smell the fumes. I know it sounds strange, but to us, at that time, a motorbike was a glimpse of another world. That was how cut off we were at the time. There were no televisions, and hardly anyone had a radio. We had no access to education. The only way we heard news was, and that after the Khmer Rouge, through the loudspeakers, mounted along the streets, the government's way of reaching the public, especially during the peace negotiation. When our former Prime Minister Hun Sen, Samdech Techo Hun Sen, returned from talks in Jakarta in his quest for peace for the people of Cambodia, or Paris, his press conferences would be broadcast through those loudspeakers. And that's where I lived in Posat province. I used to run down the road to hear them. Just a child, but I wanted to understand. I wanted to believe that peace could be real. As basic as that. That longing for knowledge, for connection, and for peace defines my childhood. And that is why, standing right here today, seeing you graduates, fluent in multiple languages, already connected to global networks through your digital fluency, I feel proud because I know where we started. All of you here today are what progress looks like. It's what progress really looks like. You represent how far Cambodia has come. And your role now is to carry that progress forward. Because while you have gained tools and opportunities, and that many before you never had, the work is far from finished. You graduate at a time when the world needs clear minds, steady hands, and above all, generous hearts. And I have every reason to believe that you will meet that need. So that is my second piece of advice. Be a good citizen. Take ownership, not just of your future, but of the society around you. You can start small. Contribute your skills to a local project. Volunteer your time. And perhaps even help mentor younger students. Cambodia still faces many challenges. We are a land of many challenges. In making sure opportunity reaches everyone, every province, and we need people like you to help them. Now, next one. Continuous learning. Or you can call adult education if you desire. Coming back from when I left university, I didn't go into politics straight away. I continued my studies. I taught students, and I began my civil service at the Ministry of Industry, Mines and Energy. At that time, it was the Ministry of Industry, Mines and Energy. I later worked for the ADB as the introduction just showed you. spent time in private sectors, and led a public institution, the Electricity du Cambodge. At every step, I carried something with me. Every role, every responsibility, every challenge prepared me for the next. For example, when I was a lecturer at the Royal University of Phnom Penh, I taught methodology. I learned how to engage a classroom, observing body language and the psychology of attention. And now, as a public speaker, as a public policy maker, I still use those tools. Believe me, what you gained is what may be useful a bit later. So while today marks the end of your exams, one chapter of it, it must not be the end of your education. I hope this university has given you more than knowledge. I hope it has given you a love of learning. And in an age when information moves faster than understanding, critical thinking is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Maybe a pop culture reference here will help reinforce my point. In the words of Ronnie Cheng, you have to keep reading beyond the hashtag. There's a book behind the word. Headlines are not knowledge. Opinions is not wisdom. Read carefully and think critically. And above all, stay humble enough to keep seeking deeper understanding. Growing up with very little, I understood early on that education was a path to opportunity, and knowledge gave you choices. That belief shaped a lot for me. When I was studying in Australia, short course in Australia, back in 1994, and staying with a host family in Canberra, I saved my entire per diem just to buy books. At that time, you couldn't easily find such books in Cambodia. We couldn't buy books in Cambodia those days. So for me, walking into the Australian National University Library bookstore, it felt like entering treasure trove. I was drawn to books on leadership, marketing, time management, and lateral thinking by Edward de Bono. Not just for theory, but for the practical tools that the books offered. I read, and then observed the workplace, how people behaved, and how system actually worked. When I began my role at EDC, there was not much time to prepare. You are in the job. You don't have time to prepare. When the people employ you as a public civil servant, they're not employing you to learn. They employ you to work for them. So when I began my role at EDC, there was not much time to prepare. I was a leader, the way I understood it to be, not a technician, not an electrician. But I needed to understand the electricity sector. I had not been trained in electricity before I assumed the office at EDC. So I found books and studied transmission lines, the national grid, all the ABCs of electricity. Believe me or not, it was very basic, but that I had to do something. That experience taught me something else. You never know where you will land in the future. The job you do may not match the degree you earned today. But if you stay committed to continuous learning, you will be ready. And that mindset, the discipline to keep learning, doesn't survive on its own. In a world constantly competing for your attention, what you do every day will shape how you think. The tools you use shape your habits, and the habits shape how you see the world. So use them wisely. Your phone is a tool. Used with care, it can help you learn, connect, and navigate. But used carelessly, it will scatter your focus, shrink your world, and steal your time. You will not find many of life's real answers on TikTok or Instagram. These platforms offer amusement, distraction, and sometimes, yes, information. But they are not a substitute for experience, and many times not a substitute for books and publications. Books gave me the foundation, and understanding deepens when you take what you have read and test it against the real world. This is my final piece of advice. Learning doesn't stop here. Use your time deliberately. Use your tools deliberately. They will shape the direction you take. Congratulations, graduates. I'm proud of what you have achieved, and even prouder of what you go on to build. Thank you.